I promise you it tastes delicious. Looks like crap, tastes delicious. It's like the opposite of Buckley's. Hello, it's Nicholas Sperling. Welcome back to my channel. Do you feel like we've been here before? Well, that's because we have been. Last week I put out a video about how to make pasta if you're feeling depressed and you don't have a lot of energy. Well, today I'm going to be making another video. You seem to really enjoy that video. I heard a lot of people say that they really like hanging out with me in my kitchen and that they thought it was funnier than my usual videos and that it also helped them. It didn't have the views of some of my other videos, but the fact that I had such an overwhelming response from people was something that was really exciting and made me want to do this again. I'm a little less depressed than I was in the last video, you might be able to tell, but I'm going to do this anyway because I'm still depressed. I'm still not wanting to spend a lot of energy cooking. I'm gonna make something very easy. I'm gonna make some burritos. Let's get into it. So I'm going to be using a non-stick pan like this one right here. Non-stick is just a lot easier. I quite like these pans, but it has lost a little bit of its non-stick coating. So I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there, just a splash. So I'm just going to turn the stove on now. I'm going to turn it up to just before halfway. You don't want it at medium heat, just a little bit below that because you want to let the beans cook out for a fairly long time. And also I'm making a very simple recipe. You can make this however you want to. You could put in some ground meat, you could put in ground round, which is what I prefer if I'm doing that. You can put in vegetables like tomatoes or lettuce or really anything. I've even put broccoli in these before and it's been quite good. So really play around with this. I've spent many years working on this in order to come up with this recipe that I like, but make it your own. That's the whole point of this. I'm going to give you a very basic setup and then you take it from there. You make it your own and you do what you like with it. But this is hopefully going to be able to get you into the kitchen when you're just not feeling like spending a lot of time cooking. So first step is open your can of beans. So you can see here I'm using these Primo kidney beans. This is just my preference, but you can use any bean you want to. I know folks that I've cooked for have liked black beans more, so I've used those. Like I said, make it your own in every aspect of the recipe. This is just a real base. So now you're going to drain your beans. Get as much liquid as you can out of there, but don't worry too much. It doesn't have to be dry, and whoo, that's a bad angle again. Why do I keep doing that? So this is what the beans are going to look like. You just dump them straight in the pan. And there we go. So you got some sludge in the bottom of this can, and I'm really sorry for using that word, but that's basically what it is. This is the really beany portion of the can. So if you don't like a beany taste, rinse your beans, then put them in the pan. I like a nice beany taste, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water to this can. Stir it up a little bit, try to get all that sludge off the bottom. And geez, I don't know why I keep saying that word, but I can't think of what else to call it. Alright, dump that in the pan. Oh, there's still a tiny bit more. You don't want a ton of water, but just enough to, woo, and I'm spilling it all over myself. See, again, I said this in the last video, if you're not spilling things, you're not getting into your cooking enough. There you go. That's just going to give it that extra flavor. So at this point, I like to season my beans. I'm going to start off with some sriracha. Whoo! That just exploded. Anyway, I'm going to squeeze a little bit of that in there. I like a little spice, and I also find it just adds to the sort of textural experience of the beans. Did I just splash it on my face? I did. Now, good old Lowry seasoning salt. This made an appearance in the last video, and that's because it's freaking delicious. So put that in your beans too, if you have some. Fairly heavy salt content there, but these beans will last you for probably 2 meals. Now I have some onion powder. Just a generous sprinkle of that. Now I've got some garlic powder. Generous sprinkle of that as well. Now these two made an appearance in the last video as well. We've got some paprika, we've got some chili powder. Might be the other way around. I don't know. They're not labeled. Hope for the best. And again, if you have that chili powder, don't put too much in if you don't like spicy things. Or at all. You don't have to follow my recipe in any way other than cook your beans. There you go. Spilling on the stove again. Just do it as much as you can. Or don't. Because like I said in the last video, cleanup sucks. So maybe try to avoid it if you're not good at cleaning, which, to be fair, I'm not good at doing when I'm depressed, so that actually kind of does suck, but oh, I'm not supposed to be swearing in my videos. Screw it. Lastly, I'm just going to put in some black pepper. A little more. Now, this is the part people think I'm weird for. I use a potato masher, just like this. Make sure you have a solid one, because then you can put it in the dishwasher. My last one was not solid, and it just got really flimsy after putting it in the dishwasher. But again, depressed, make things easy. If you have a dishwasher, use it. That's pretty much all I do. I just buy everything so that it'll go in a dishwasher. So now you're gonna take this and you're gonna mash your beans. You mash them as much as you want or as little as you want. You don't have to mash them, but I find it gets the spices incorporated, so I would suggest mashing it a little bit. You can mash the heck out of it if you want to. I prefer to leave a little bit of sort of like half beans in there. That's kind of what I'm going for. So at this point, your beans should be looking fairly soupy, and that's because that water is going to evaporate as the beans cook out, and it's going to allow it some time for all those spices to cook out, and it's not going to have that sort of canned bean flavor with all of those raw spices in it. Just like with a chili where you want to cook it for a long time, obviously you're not cooking this for as long as a chili, but you do want it to cook out a little bit. You're going to get a spatula as well. Jeez, I feel like I'm about to smack you. You're going to use this to stir it every once in a while. Now you can keep it stirring and keep it from sticking to the base if you want to. Personally, I like to leave it in there until it forms a little bit of a skin on the bottom. I'm using all these words that make it sound awful, but it gets a little bit of crunch in it, a little bit of extra texture. Now my other suggestion would be use as big of a frying pan as possible. I like to spread out the surface area. I find it just helps it to cook a little bit better, a little bit more evenly, but you do have to make sure that you keep moving it a little bit more often because it will want to sort of dry out more quickly. As with all of my recipes, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. I keep saying this. This is a depression meal. This is something that's very easy to cook. It's something that I could come in here and make almost as easily as just pulling something out of the freezer and microwaving. Everything here you can store for a very long time. There's basically just cheese, spices, tortilla, and your beans. So your beans are canned. Easy to store. Tortillas I put in the freezer, and I just take the package right when I get home from the store. I shove it in the freezer, and whenever I want one, I just break it off because they separate quite easily when they're in the package in the freezer. Take those out, put them on a plate. I've already done that, so there are my frozen tortillas, but when they're frozen, you have to heat them up a little bit. You can do a variety of things to heat them up. You can put them in a separate pan, or you can do what I like to do when I'm trying to be really quick and make as few dishes as possible. Put it on the plate I'm going to eat them on, pop it in the microwave under defrost for a very short amount of time, and they'll heat up. And I find that they become even more pliable than if you were to put them on the stove. So I actually prefer, in a way, the microwave method. But if you want to have that sort of toasted feel of a burrito, you could take the burrito and you could put it on a grill pan or something like that in order to toast it before you eat it. I'm so bad at making things like this entertaining. I don't have a sneeze to like get myself into the moment like last time. I feel like maybe I just need to simulate it. All right, what do we do? What do we do? No, that's not entertaining. Sweet, finally have something else to do. I just fold them over like that so they don't get soggy from the moisture. Set those aside. I'm not worried about them being hot. I can toast it if it's not hot enough. You can microwave it if it's not hot enough. You can do whatever you want if you want to make it hotter. But you could also just microwave the tortillas right before you're about to eat if that's something that you're going for. But when they come out of the microwave, they stay pliable for a fairly long time, so that's a bonus. Oh my gosh, having pliable pancakes? Pancakes? Having pliable tortillas is not the be-all and end-all. What am I even talking about? I'm losing my mind. I did this in the last video, so you probably look at this clock and you think, oh, you're cooking burritos for lunch. It's 12:53. It's 12:53 a.m. I'm making burritos, and this is the first meal of the day, so I think if you're trying to figure out if I'm still depressed or not, that's a pretty darn good indication. Words are failing me. Freeze! E. You can see it's starting to get a little crunchy just on the sides here, so just kind of push that back down in there a little. Stir it around a little more. Give it a good old pat and smooth it out. Good old pat. I know a few people that are named Pat, and they're good old people. Now for my favorite part. It's cheese. There's obviously an easier way of doing this, but I am very picky about my cheese. So no matter how depressed I am, if I have some Armstrong cheese, things are going to be good. But if you don't want the stress of having to grate cheese, and I'm not making fun of you here, when you're depressed, it's hard to do anything. So if you want an easier solution to this, you can get some shredded cheese, either keep it in your fridge or even keep it in your freezer. I like to keep some shredded cheese in my I like to keep some shredded cheese in my freezer just in case. You know, sometimes you run out of one of these. Once they're open, you got to use them pretty quickly. So I'm going to pig out on cheese over the next few days, and that's never a good idea for me. But if you have some cheese in your freezer, you can just sprinkle on however much you want. It's never going to go bad. You just leave it in there. And boom! Can you tell I open a lot of cheese? Cheese is my favorite food. I'm just going to go off about cheese in this video. And I'm going to have to probably cut down on the cheese when I'm building this burrito for your viewing pleasure, because it's not going to be pleasurable to see the amount of cheese I would normally put on a burrito. So now you're going to grate this. I just have one of these cheap graters from IKEA, but it's really nice because it has a bowl on the bottom. That's the cheese. Doesn't it look great? I knew that bean pun wasn't going to be the last one of the video. Now you can see that the beans here are boiling, so I just like to give it a stir whenever it starts boiling. Whenever it starts boiling, I just like to give it a bit of a stir. And I did say before that I like to wait until it gets a little crusty, but that's not going to happen at this point in time. That's what's going to happen a little bit later in the cooking process, once the water's sort of come out of there a bit more. So now the water has reduced a little bit. The beans are starting to become a little bit more mush-like. I'm really not selling this recipe in any way. But at this point, I'm going to put a little bit of cheese in here. I'm going to save most of the cheese for putting on the burrito itself once everything's come out of the pan and I'm building it. But I'm going to put a little bit in here to get it nice and melty and incorporated into the cheese. Into the cheese. Into the beans. You can really tell that I just want cheese for dinner and nothing else, can't you? Healthy amounts of cheese. Yes, cheese it up. You'll let me know if these videos are too cheesy for your liking, right? Stir that in. Look at that. Look how quickly that melts. And then it just becomes one with the bean. One with the bean? One with the bean was my nickname in high school. I'm gonna stop taking jokes from other YouTubers. Sorry about that, Rhett. You're never gonna see this video, but sorry about it anyway. Look at that nice baby poo color. That's exactly what you want. You want some nice baby poo color on it? With some little chunks, you know? Really selling this recipe. I promise you it tastes delicious. Looks like crap, tastes delicious. It's like the opposite of Buckley's. Now at this point, if you're feeling up to it, you can start putting things away. I might put my spices in the cabinet. I'm actually feeling rather proud of myself for this right now, because I would often not have the energy to do that or clean up. If you look behind the camera here, which I am not going to let you do, there's a big pile of dishes right there. If you have the energy, maybe start washing up while this is happening. There's a little bit of time. And if you have your laptop with you in the kitchen, then you could just use that for watching videos while you're cooking. I do that a lot of the time too. Maybe put on a podcast, whatever it might be. Wouldn't you know it, I forgot an ingredient, but it's not too late to add this because this actually doesn't take very long to cook out, so perfectly fine. But if you want to add this back when I added the other spices, go for it and do that. But this is actually, oddly enough, the most important spice in here, so why did I forget it? Just taco seasoning. I just picked this up at Costco. Turned out to be amazing. I put this on so many different things. I'll put it in a quesadilla, I'll put it on nachos. Basically, anytime you've got some kind of, you know, fake Mexican food, put some of this taco seasoning on it. It's great. And I put quite a bit of that seasoning in it. Like I said, it's really good. Yes, these beans are starting to get... Wow, I sound like a drag queen. Yes, queen. But no, I am starting to get close to the texture that I'm looking for. It's starting to thicken up a bit. So you're just waiting for this to get essentially sludgy enough. Love using all these awful words. You basically want it to get sludgy enough that when you put it in the tortilla, it doesn't make the tortilla wet. That's essentially all that we're going for here. Ooh, getting sticky. Sticky Ricky. I know a guy named Rick. I don't think he was that sticky though. I didn't know him well enough though. You know? We're getting real close! So this is a fantastic meal if you're looking for getting multiple days out of it. I'm gonna get 2 meals out of this, and that's just with beans. So if you add something like ground meat or ground round, you're gonna be able to get much more life out of these. You might get 4 meals out of them. Sometimes when I've done it, I've gotten 4 meals. Now, if that's too much and you're getting tired of it, throw some things in the freezer and then you can eat them later. But generally, I like this enough that I'll eat it for a full 4 days in a row, or I'll have it twice in a day, something like that. There's your sludgy goop that you're looking for. You see how it kind of stays put for the most part? It's sliding a little bit, but it's pretty solid. So just gonna set that off to the side here. Make sure you always turn your stove off. All right, so now it's time to build the burrito. I take this here, and just to make it simple, I'll spread it back out again over the bottom, and then I'll just take a line and kind of cut it down the middle. That way I know I'm getting roughly the right amount. Then I'll take another line and cut it across there. So each quarter, whoop, you can't even see it, each quarter is essentially enough beans for one burrito. Open your burrito up, slap some beans down in there. As always, I'm making this as appetizing as possible. Slap your slop inside your burrito thing. Slap your slop inside your thin piece of bread. Should be a mythical kitchen thing. Is tortilla bread? Now I'm gonna get some hate comments. I leave a little extra space at one end and fill it all the way to the other end. That's so that you can roll it over. If you want to fold it on both sides, you can do that as well. You know what? I'm going to fold it on both sides so I can give you a nice cross section. Now we're going to take our cheese and plop some cheese in there. And like I said, I like cheese. And this may seem like a lot, but it's honestly not. And this is still a lot less than I would normally put on. You do you. No judgment. Eat what you want. All right, so you fold it over. You just tuck one side in, fold it over, and roll. This is kind of the easiest way. I'm gonna try folding it on both sides. So let's do that. Then you fold one side in, keep tucking it there, and then you fold the other side across. And I don't do this method, so I'm not very good at it. You want it a little tighter than that, so you know, if you know how to do this, do it, and if you don't, just do it a different way. You've probably rolled burritos or something before, right? Just do it how you do that, right? Depressed cooking. Last knife that's clean. And it's not even proper for cutting. You know what? I'm gonna clean a proper knife because, like, what am I doing? Y'all gonna make me clean my knife? Up in here, up in here. Don't play with your knives, folks. Cleaning the knife, cleaning the knife. Break me off a piece of that clean knife. Oh, we got a clean knife. Ooh, we got a clean, dull freaking knife. All right, now that's your basic bean burrito. Let's not forget to actually taste it this time. Here we go. Let's see how this tastes. That is great. Apparently I added a lot of chili powder, maybe thinking it was paprika. It's quite spicy, but it's also extremely delicious. Give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it. And remember, make it your own. You can play around with this. This is just the base. If I wasn't making this for you, I might have added a few other things, but I want you to have a solid base to start from. Hopefully I've given you some ideas of how you can make it your own. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me in my disaster of a kitchen. If you did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, have a great day.